Welcome to the Rise to the Challenge podcast. Join me today. He's the founder and CEO of Red Dot Imports and Hair Maiden India. It's Rocky Kandola. How are you doing today, Rocky?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us on the show. I'm excited to learn more about your rise to the challenge. First, we're going to start right at the beginning. Talk about where you're from and what were you involved in growing up.
Got it. So I was born in the Bronx, New York. As you might have read a little bit, I kind of grew up all over the world. So it's hard for me to call one exact place my home. My family is in between UK, Canada, India, and New York and Mississippi and Alabama. As a kid, I was a tennis player. Starting at 3 years old, my mom got me out with a plastic racket and a ball and started hitting around. And I fell in love with tennis way back then. I've always been an outdoor kid, loved going by the river, fishing, and playing around outside, sports, soccer, basketball, tennis. That's kind of like my early childhood, starting out just like that. We were in New York for a couple years. We quickly moved to Ohio, where my brother and sister were born. From there, my father took the family down south to follow a career opportunity, and that's kind of where we spent the next little bit of time down there.
Out of all the places that you've lived, where is the one place that you kind of felt at home or you kind of learned more about yourself?
That's a good question. So as far as the home part of the question, I literally truly feel at home kind of anywhere I go around the world, as long as I kind of have a certain few things, which is like good vibes, good people. And, I have the ability, the freedom to travel around and explore the area. Where I've learned the most about myself, almost biting my tongue saying it, but like in the places where I've been through the most, which is down south, Mississippi, Alabama. I learned a lot about me there. I learned a lot. I grew a lot there. I learned a lot about life and people there. On the same hand, though, when I traveled and went away for the first time as an adult to India, and I was kind of alone and starting a new life, I learned a lot about the real me and not the me that, society and different kind of things put on you. So it's kind of both of them on both sides.
You mentioned Mississippi, and I actually got an opportunity for work to go down to Mississippi and start something there. And it's definitely two different worlds in a way from where I am in Missouri to Mississippi. And you mentioned about people in society. And when I went down there, I'm being called sir all the time. It's just everyone's so polite.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people in Missouri don't do that, but it's kind of nice in a way. Like everyone's so friendly, and I just easily made friends, and everyone that I worked with was just so nice. And Mississippi is like a place I definitely want to go back to because I didn't get to fully experience it. What brought you to tennis? You said that your mom gave you a plastic racket, but as you were growing up playing the sport, was there someone that you kind of admire in the game, or was it just the opportunity there?
So I admired Agassi, Sampras, Mark Philippoussis, a lot of those guys, and I actually got to go visit. And for summers at Harry Hopkins tennis camp, which Pete Sampras played at Nick Bollettieri's, which Andre Agassi played at. I got to play 3 courts down from Agassi, being coached by Mr. Nick Bollettieri on the top 5 courts. I'm competitive by nature, and tennis is really like a one-on-one, man-to-man sport where you have to use your brains, your mental, your physical, your technical skills, and defeat your opponent basically. And I wasn't really naturally good. I had to practice a lot until I got to a certain level, and I liked it. I just around my hometown, everyone was playing basketball, football. My parents didn't really want me to play football because they're Indian, and they're like, "Oh no, you're gonna get hurt," blah blah. So, tennis it was. And then my coaches, Mike Joyce and Hap Davis from Pascagoula, Mississippi, amazing spirits, amazing souls, beautiful coaches, mentors for me at that age as well. Guided me as best as they could back then, and they really sparked everything in me. I remember waking up before school and playing and practicing, going after school to play with a clinic with a group. Then after the clinic, I would do another private lesson, and then at nighttime, Coach Mike would have me pushing his truck on the driveway and calling out names like songs and stuff like that while I was working out basically. So.
Was that a sport where you kind of got to build a skill set so like your family was like, okay, he actually can push himself in a way in a positive direction?
Definitely. I mean, and once again, I think they recognized that. They were happy. My father's always been pretty critical, but they're the ones that actually brought me to all these tournaments that allowed me to get top 10 ranking in the South and so on. However, that was also my main punishment growing up was if I ever got in trouble, I'd get tennis taken away. And I hated that. And I got sent around so much that I never got to stay with one school very long. But, like I said, they were traditional Indian back then. They really wanted me to study and, have an academic career versus any kind of physical or sports career. So it was kind of.
During the time of growing up, did you find any other passions, or were you just strictly focused on tennis?
At a young age, it was tennis, man. I was that kid in school with short shorts, a different tennis tournament shirt every day, glasses, braces, like tennis shoes, and that was what I wore to school every day. Like,
Oh man, I can do that. I luckily didn't have to have braces, but that was definitely at the younger age. It's like everyone had that, or a retainer, or the glasses. Oh man.
yeah.
What were the challenges and obstacles that you faced growing up?
So, growing up, around 11 years old, I started getting into my dad a lot. I talked back a lot. I was pretty rebellious. I was pretty outspoken. Even my teachers, I would never have to study, and I would just take a test and get, finish it before anybody in the class and turn it in. And everybody in the class would be like, "Oh, there's like a walking F or something like that." I remember that happened in third grade, and I actually got 100 on the test. And I would get kind of cocky about it and just kind of like, not really want to be in class, want to walk around, this and that. And so my father, at around 11 or 12 years of age, sent me to India. And he wanted me to have like a cultural experience, I think he said back then. But, later in life, he basically told me, he's like, "You were too much to deal with right now." So he sent you to live in India. And I mean, in India, I traveled the country alone as well, hopped on trains and went to go play tennis tournaments on the other side of the country. I had like a family kind of nearby watching over me a little bit. I was going to school out there. I actually enjoyed it. It sucked because at that age, I missed my friends and my family and everything. But, it wasn't really anything I look back on that hurts me, I guess, or that causes pain. It was like, back then it was tough. Now I look back and smile about it. But, after I got back shortly, I was home for a little bit. And my father started teaching me how to drive at a very young age. So I got in the habit of sneaking his car out at night and like going to Taco Bell and doing random things like that with friends. I would like hop out the window, jump through the bushes, put the car in neutral, push it down the driveway, and just go ride around. And eventually, yeah, and that's crazy. I was a big 11, 12-year-old though. So I was like, I looked close to 15, 16 at that age.
Were you trying to grow up fast, or what caused the rebellious side with your family?
It was more like a little bit of the rebel at that age and time. Like it wasn't so much rebellious as it was explorative. I felt like I was always at a point inside my mind and my body where like I want to see the world. I know like this kid life is not all there is. There's a lot more out there, and I want to go see it. And that's kind of like what kind of sparked that in me. When I got sent to my next place, which was a boot camp in Mexico, I got pulled over one night when I was in the car. After I went there, which was like a strict, regimented place that had, all kind of all kind of things happen, with kids, from child abuse to trauma to rape and physical torture and all kind of things. After that, is when I really got a much more of a rebellious type of nature.
So would you say the boot camp maybe didn't help at all, or were you still trying to be rebellious to a strict system that these boot camps have?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not the type of person that you can scare or hit or, do that to make me change or listen. So I would say the boot camps, my parents would say that if they didn't send me there, I would be dead or have all my bones in my body broken. I tell them nicely, like, I disagree with you. I think I'd have been okay. I'd have found my way. So I don't think that necessarily helped. But I mean, at this age now, like I do realize the value of those experiences. They made me who I am today. And, I still have a lot of pain from them. Like I wake up with really bad dreams a lot stemming from that boot camp. I've been to some very dark places recently as well in my life when, I've been writing about my past and stuff where those boot camp times where, I really had to talk about it. But yeah, I wouldn't say they help. Those places, the WWASP, the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs, Paris Hilton recently has done a documentary about them as well. They're horrible places, to send a child to try to, help them, quote unquote. And I faced all the above, from getting kicked, down a hallway and had my feet and hands tied behind my back for a couple of days at a time, to the mental stuff of standing outside in the rain at 2:00 in the morning, being woken up in the middle of the night, not having proper food, and not being allowed to talk to anybody or communicate with anybody at all. It was a pretty crazy time, and I think that when I got out, I went to 2 of those places between 12 and 17, plus a Catholic boarding school and a military school, all in between there. And by the time I was out, I was so rebellious. I was so like, one, I was a little bit cocky. I was like, I went through all this stuff, and I'm still here. I'm still standing. And two, I was like, no one's taking away my ability to do whatever I want to do as a grown man now. And, at 17 is when I graduated, and that's when I started college as well. So by the time I started, I was fully into selling drugs, partying, girls every other day, as much as I could do to be a man at that point as I thought I was.
Going through those situations, did you kind of have that moment or doubt, like, I don't know if I can handle this anymore, like being tied up and all of that? Or were you trying to, as we say, rise to the challenge and try to make it to the next day and try to see maybe it'll get better or I can get back to living my life the way I want to live it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about me. I think I'm very adaptable. I remember that I definitely had moments where I was scared. Like when I first came there and they take you to the back and strip your clothes down and shave your head and start screaming at you. Like I was definitely had moments where I was scared, but I always remember like being able just to get into the flow pretty easily and just like, okay, now what do I have to do to get out of here? Like what's the next step? What's going to happen? How do I make sure that I'm heading towards, getting beyond this? And that kind of did become a pattern for me in my life. Whenever I would get into situations that were horrible or, I didn't want to be in, I was like a week or so, maybe I'd be like down or like sad or scared, wherever it was. And then it's just like snap, like, okay, Rock, let's get out of this. Let's get through this. Let's get past it. Let's figure a way out to not feel like this and have to be in this anymore. And I mean, as an adult looking back, thinking on it, I can verbalize this and articulate it. Back then it was pretty much natural. My body just, it's instinct. Instead of like whatever else I could do, just, break down or whatever, I would just try to get out of it. I mean, that's not to say like I was just a strong, amazing kid. Like I had plenty of moments probably like where I was very scared. I mean, I had dreams where I woke up there. I got my ass beat a good few times. I got all kind of stuff there. And I mean, I'm sure that a few of those times sprinkled in between there, I was, doubtful if, hey, am I going to be able to get past this? I'm not sure. I read my journals and it sounds like a 50-year-old man because I'm a lot of times in my journals talking about, man, I wish I just wasn't here anymore. I wish I was gone, like, and not by not being in the program, like not being on earth type of thing at a very young age. So.
Looking back at during that time and kind of doing a reflection now, what would you think would have been the best strategy to help you maybe break those habits that could have led you to a more positive track?
I'm a big believer in communication. And it was my father was a physician. He was at work a lot. My mom was there and tried to talk to me, but I think at that point I did need like my dad to like, talk to me more. And communication and love. But I mean, I was a tough kid to deal with, given that nowadays there's a lot more out there for parents, like programs and big sister, big brother type of things, and really places that they can take someone to after school and sit there and talk with them, and more counseling, more research on counseling and stuff like that as well. As far as my case, I think back then it just had to go the way it had to go. But maybe if they pulled me in, like just spend a little more time and just started talking more, like, and I know they tried. I know I'm not that they tried so many things, like to try to help me out and get me on the path they wanted. But that wasn't the path for me. I had a different path, and that was the kind of the path that I went on. And if I were to have broken all the bones and died, like, I mean, that would have been unfortunate for everybody involved. But I mean, I just can't ever believe that path was ever even a possibility for me. Because I mean, if it was, I don't think I'd be here. I think that might have happened. I was in a lot of crazy situations, from a young age all the way up till 6 years ago. So.
What was that dream job that you wanted, like during this time?
I wanted to be a tennis pro. I wanted to play professional tennis. That was my one thing. When I was a really, really little kid, my mom told me I wanted to be an astronaut. Didn't really remember that those days too much, but ever since I could remember playing tennis even when I was in that last boot camp, I was like, I had dreams like I want to get out and start practicing again and go play tennis. But then, college started and this and that. And even myself, when I had the chance to go play tennis, I was like, I think I'd rather go to this party over here and smoke a little bit of this and drink a little bit of that. That's not really conducive to being a tennis pro, so.
Would you say that in your pursuit through education that the kind of the party lifestyle took away from what your dreams were wanting? And maybe was it the people that you were being around influenced those decisions to be made?
I mean, surely, like, I remember I've never given up on a tournament. I've never ever on a tennis tournament. And I remember somewhere around 17, 18, I was playing in a tournament. It was the first time it ever happened. I remember I smoked a lot of weed and had a party the day before that. I didn't give the match up, but I just kind of gave it away, like playing loosely, because I was like, man, I don't feel good. I remember kind of thinking then, I was like, man, like tennis is out for you, Rocky. Like might as well think of something else. And it took me 10 years to even think of anything else to do from that point, literally 10 years, from like 17, 18 to 27, 28. And so, yeah, I mean, 100%. The crowd I was with at that time, I disconnected from them completely. You know, when I kind of made my first changes in my life, I don't hang around those kind of people. I don't see them anymore. And not to say they're bad people, you know, just the situations and the goals and the things they want to do were just not aligned, you know, with who I am now and what I wanted to be to get to this point. So like when I did make, you know, a couple of changes in my life, that was pretty much the first thing that went. Had like a good identity build. I had been in and out of prison already. I had a group of people that looked up to me, and I had street credit from going to prison, whatever you want to call it. I had a girlfriend, all set in the same hometown, had a nice place, and I just left all of it, disconnected from every bit of it. And that's when that was 7 years ago or so, 7 or 8 maybe years ago. And that's when I really started to for the first time, intentionally, consciously, and for myself, change my life.
So how long was that kind of lifestyle that you were living with the partying, the drugs, the alcohol, the kind of, and which led to going to prison?
14 to 26, 13 to 14 to 26ish. So had a nice little run. But
was it hard financially? I mean, living that lifestyle, because I mean, unless you're dealing stuff.
Oh yeah. I was selling a lot of drugs, not a lot of drugs. I was selling. My dad would give me a little bit of money here and there, and I would always take that, go buy more stuff, come back to a different town, sell it there for a double price. And I was a crazy little kid. I did all kind of stuff for money to get money, selling anything. I used to buy Jordans and hats and perfume stuff from New York, go to spring break, sell them there. We used to. So yeah, we were. Like I said, I was just basically just doing anything, you know, to get money, and I would get a little bit, you know, money here and there from my dad, and then I would take that and go buy different legal and illegal substances and go resell them. Like spring break, we'd get all kind of different things and go up and sell them and come back to the city and kind of just you know do our best to just make money. And you know, a lot of it was illegal: X pills, drugs, coke, this and that. We'd even like sprinkle coke on fake estrogen pills from Walmart and sell that to spring breakers. Like, yeah, just it was crazy. I was crazy back then, crazy, totally crazy. So
Prior to going through all that, did you know like how serious those items are and what the effects could happen to you? Or were you just like in that mindset of, well, I'm just gonna risk it. Like I don't care at this moment.
it didn't really even feel like a risk back then. I don't know. Like I don't know what was totally went through my head. I was just like, I didn't think too much of the consequences. I knew it was illegal, and I knew I couldn't just walk up to a cop like, hey, I have these things, you know, like I know I had to be careful about it. But now I love the thrill of it. I guess at that point it was like a rush almost, you know, to get away with it, to go sell something to somebody and you know do something illegal and not get caught for it, until obviously I got caught for it. So
This might be a weird like reflecting on that situation. Did you kind of feel like you're finding a new path in like entrepreneurial area with it, because you're buying a product, you're marketing it up, you're making money off of it? I know it's not like, oh, well, I did this with these serious drugs and stuff, and I mean but it's true. I mean, it's kind of a way that you kind of learned the business in a way.
exactly. I mean, rewind a couple of years, and I was also the kid that like traded baseball cards, had lemonade stands, would you know go cut grass around the neighborhood. You know, like so. I definitely agree. Like I say this a lot, and like I think that everything we go through in our lives, everything we do, all happens for a reason, and it all comes together and shows you what that reason is sometime later on in life. And I agree 100%. I mean, it's funny. Like when I first started selling hair extensions, I would compare it directly to the marijuana industry. And as soon as I've met a client that would like know about marijuana weed, I'd be like, yes, now listen to me. If you get an ounce of this here and an ounce of this, and like you have an ounce of the lows and the Reggie versus a ounce of the bad hair or the good hair, it's the same thing. It's different names, different. So I would explain it like that. So, I mean, that's just like a very direct sense of it. But just being able to learn how to buy a product, to sell a product for hire, to market up, to find that clientele, to be out there, to network, to talk, to get it going. Like there's a lot of parallels that you can be drawn from it. And I mean, I tell this like a lot of people that I know, like a lot of my friends are prisoners as well. I'm like, guys, like what you learn from like hustling, like that can be translated to a legitimized, proper, legal business very easily. You just got to want to make that change. You got to let go of the notion, the idea that, because I was addicted to the lifestyle, that this lifestyle is the coolest thing you can do, that you're the man and stuff like that. And that's how I felt. Like I was the man. I was the coolest person because I had these drugs and I could get people these drugs. Like when you let go of that and you say, you know what, instead of that, I want to build a legal, legitimate business for myself. You know, it's very doable.
So what finally got you caught and kind of sent you to prison and to do time?
Alabama State Prison. There was a task force, the feds, the state police, and the local government all working together. A little before that, a kid had tried to take advantage of my sister, and me and my friends went and beat him up. And that kid happened to be the son of a prominent judge there, so that kind of got my name out in the courthouse a little bit. Shortly after, they started kind of following me and watching me. They knew that, you know, this kid Rocky throws these crazy parties and he has all these cars and he comes downtown and you know, and goes drinking and stuff like that and does what he does. And they did an undercover sting operation on me where they had a controlled buy, me selling to an undercover narcotics agent, a small amount of cocaine, and they caught me on that, and they followed me again for a couple months and couldn't really build any more of a case on me. Because I never was like Mr. Kingpin. You know, I was more of that guy that I'm at the party, I know who has the stuff, I know you want the stuff, I can put it together. And that's kind of like, I got to be like the cool kid. Like the girls liked it. Guys wanted to be my friends because of it. People wanted to come hang out with me because of it. So I just kind of kept going down that path. And, you know, eventually that's what happened. They caught me for that one undercover buy. And then I think they realized as well, like, oh, he's not really doing anything too much. He's just, you know, making a couple of transactions. Let's go ahead and bring him in. And that's when they brought me in. And from there, it was like a year or so in jail, a year or so in rehab, 2 years on house arrest, probation, over 2 years in prison. Just 9 years of my life almost, just a whirlwind of craziness.
You mentioned that girls would like it, guys would just want to be associated with it. Did you kind of think that maybe they were using you to get these items or to have fun in a way? Or did you kind of have that like, I'm the big shot right now, no one's going to stop me, and everyone just wants to be around me?
Back then, the lines kind of got blurred. Like I knew people wanted me for those reasons, and I even used to say like, "Man, my guy friends don't ever come over unless I have girls over here," and I'd have like 3 or 4 girls hanging out. And then, you know, as I got a little bit older and older, those lines started to get blurred. I started to get confused. Like, wait, these people were like, I've been around them for a while now. They're always over here. Like, they must like me, you know. And like that's when the lines started to get blurred, and that was a very uncomfortable position. It actually it hurt me for later on in life because it made me like kind of like cautious of people, I guess. Like, you know, like you know, what else can someone want to use you for, type of thing. But back then, like in the very beginning, I would know, you know, like, you know, this is clear, this is what it is. But as time went along, you know, I got more into the lifestyle, more addicted to just having that fake love, I guess you would call it. You were right, they 100% got blurred. So I wasn't just like, oh, I'm big. I'm like, these people really like me. Like those are my friends. Like,
I think people can relate to that nowadays. I know, I mean, I can't relate, but just from going to college, being in a fraternity and stuff, but even when you see it anywhere in the media nowadays, it's like these people think like, oh, I'm throwing the parties. I have the alcohol. I got the drugs. I got the women. I got the guys, the boys all around. They think that they're on the top of this world and stuff. But then if you kind of look at it, it's like, are those people really your friends? Do they really want to hang out after it? Are they only coming around for just the parties? And it kind of tells you who are the true people. And I was definitely one of those that stayed away from that stuff because I've had family issues where alcohol and drugs were a huge thing, and I just didn't want to be in that area. So, like, I mean, yeah, when I was 21, I drank, but I didn't go to those parties. But I know situations of people where they wanted to live that lifestyle, but then it's kind of like you get that reality check. And I think from reading or hearing your story and what I've known about you, I think you got that reality check in a way when you had the task force and all that. What was the biggest thing you learned about yourself when you were going through probation, rehab, and going to prison?
you know, I learned a lot from the different experiences. I mean, while I was going through all that stuff, like when I was on probation, I failed 16 piss tests for weeks. I didn't care. I was like, I'm not gonna listen to you. When I was in prison, I was selling synthetic marijuana, spice. I was sending money back home to people. So it was like I learned a lot about me as far as when I was writing and things like that. But like I said before, like I'm not the type that you can just scare or like punish or hurt into changing like that. You know, like for me, the bigger learning experience from everything came closer to my time being done with everything, when I started seeing the people I hated so much, the POs and the COs and the judges and stuff like that, that I just could see a shift in them. Like, they're not about to let me go. I could see a little more humanity from them. Like, it might have been because, oh, I'm about to get out, and they want to kind of smooth things. I don't know what it was, but in my opinion, in my heart, it was just that, like, they didn't want me to go through that either. They didn't want to see anybody go through that, but I put myself in those situations and circumstances. So the biggest thing I learned, totally, as far as the legal aspect goes, is, Rocky, like, why would you put yourself in a situation and give a chance for someone to take away your freedom and put you in a cage around 1,000 people that are crazy? Don't do that anymore. Like, and I still, like, when I got out, I got right back in the lifestyle almost. And it took me about a year until I finally, when I told you earlier, I went to India and started disconnected from everything. And that happened without getting in trouble. That happened. My dad came to me one day and he said, Rocky, you're not asking us for money anymore. You're not living at home. I think you should maybe leave, get out of the country. I'll send you to Canada, England, or India. And I picked India. And, that was probably one of the best decisions I made in my life. It was still tough after that. I still went up and down, took backward steps, had a lot of, mistakes I made after that. But disconnecting that very first time, getting away, when I was getting right back into lifestyle pretty heavily again, that, if anything, probably definitely saved my life. Because who knows, if I'd have got caught again in Alabama for drugs, I might just be getting out today, while we're on this podcast. Like, the second time offenses are for the same charges there, especially with my background. The judges that knew me would have been very, very, very strict.
You said that your dad gave you that chance to go make a difference. Did you kind of think, okay, I have to take this second chance opportunity because I'm still getting into that lifestyle? And you were kind of worried, like, if I did go back, I could be in jail even longer. Were you kind of thankful that your parents kind of took that initiative to make that big difference for you?
Right now, looking back, I very much am thankful. However, like, back then when he told me, like, my dad was always the one that sent me around different places my whole life that I didn't want to go, the boot camps, the military schools. The way he said it this time was just totally different from anything else. He didn't even say, he asked me very, very nicely, very, very, like, calmly. And I thought about it, I think, for a night. And then I was like, I don't know, like, it wasn't totally my decision. Like, it was definitely a higher power, God, a different energy that came, and it was just like, just go. And I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do. I still had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't really want to change anything. I don't want to, like, become this, like, new person. I just wanted to not, I want to do something different. I guess I was tired of it. I was looking on my shoulder. I was, doing things like that I now know, what kind of consequence society gives for it, and, what the inside is like. So, all of that probably played a factor. But at the end of the day, I think that it was just some kind of spirit that told me, like, Rocky, like, let's go. You don't need any of this you have right now. As important as you think it is, whatever the people you think they are, just go. And, when I was in prison, none of my best friends, the guy friends, I had 50 guy friends that time. Nobody wrote me. Nobody wrote me a letter. Only people that wrote me a letter were random girls that I barely even knew, and just, like, sending me pictures and stuff. And my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister, they all, were there for me. They came to see me. They wrote me here and there. But that's it. So when I got out, I was almost even more jaded. I didn't really have any direction. When I was in prison, I made a lot of business plans and made a lot of plans to do things. When I got out, I was still kind of dealing with the after effects and probation and this and that. So those things kind of faded into the background for a little bit of time, and I stopped thinking about them until I went to India, which is when I implemented the business plan that I made while I was in prison.
Well, it kind of goes back to what we talked about. Are those people your true friends? And how you mentioned no one wrote to you except for the random people that showed up at these parties. And it kind of maybe had that realization where, okay, I need to definitely get away. And it kind of showed, like, going to India for you kind of changed the switch in a way. So talk about when you landed in India, what were you heading towards? What was next for you?
So I didn't really know. I landed, one of my friends when I was in India as a kid, when my dad first sent me there, I brought him back to the U.S. and he actually became a citizen in the U.S. He was actually in India then. He's a party kid. So he picked me up and he took me out in India for, like, the first 2 or 3 nights. I remember, like, one of the nights, like, I got kind of, the second night or third, I got, like, kind of drunk, and I called my dad, like, screaming, like, crying, like, did you send me back here? You put me on a one-way ticket. Is this what you're trying to do? You're trying to do this to me again? And my dad, like, really calm. He's like, no, Rocky, like, I sent you there because I asked you if you wanted to go, and you said yes. And if you want to come back on tomorrow, you can come back on tomorrow. And I remember when he said that, I was on the rooftop. I had a bottle of Johnny Black in my hands. I was looking over on the top of the balcony. He said that, and I just breathed. I was like, okay, I guess I'm not being sent away again. It's my choice right now. I have my freedom. I can do what I want to do. And 2 days later, I went with him to his family's village in Punjab. We spent the next month there, living on the village, living on the farm, farming, working out every day. Very clean lifestyle, all vegetables, good food, no music, no craziness, no drinking, none of that. And not really like that's what we're planning on doing. That's the lifestyle in Punjab. Very simple, very farm oriented, healthy, and that's what we did. And that really jump started everything for me. I really, when I left that area to go back to New Delhi later on, I was in a much better position than I was probably for the last probably maybe ever in my life.
Would you say that living in that area or with those people and not having the alcohol, any of that, it was kind of maybe a personal rehab in a way? Can I see if I can live without the use of those items?
Exactly. I mean, every rehab I've went to, every facility I've went to is probably altogether over 20 different ones. Like, it was always forced for me. I never had a chance to do it on my own. And this one I did on my own. And I definitely think it was somewhat of like a self rehab type of thing.
Did you have a support system, like the people that you were living with or the family you were living with, kind of was there supporting you to make a big difference?
They don't I mean, those people in Punjab, they don't really know anything about like what do you mean you're addicted to it? What do you mean you're partying? Like what does that even mean? Like what are you doing? Like you're crazy, bro. Just come sit down and hang out. They're very loving people. His family, they're amazing. He's a great guy. But I mean, like when like I know what a support system is like as far as speaking in a traditional sense of like an addiction and or like a trauma or PTSD. It wasn't like that. It was more just like a natural, just like good people around me, and being on the farm every day, eating dinner with them, like watching their wedding videos, their movie reels and stuff like that, hanging out it was cleansing from before that. All I had known is strip clubs, bars, guns, drugs, that was it. I had my brain, my eyes, my ears, my nose, my mouth didn't see, taste, hear, feel anything much different. And I was okay with it at that time, but I didn't realize how much of an effect that external environmental factor was having on me internally and what choices I'm making and how I'm feeling and everything.
So what was next after you were living or when you were in India? When did you finally make it back to the United States?
So I got a call from my cousins who came to New Delhi for a wedding, and I went to meet them in New Delhi about 6 hours away for a wedding, which is where I met my now ex-wife. We met there, and when I met her, like it kind of sparked like something else in me. Like you know what, like I can't, I am worthy of like being with somebody, and this could be. I do like I've always like I'm a Aquarius born on February 14th, so I've always had like an idealistic sense of like I want a family and I want a house on the water by the beach and like a wife and like go play tennis with my kids and stuff like that. And I kind of saw like a faint glimpse of that picture when I met her. And she's like, we've since separated. We're still amicable, and friends and all. But it was maybe a little premature of a decision back then. I kind of rushed into it. I met her, and then 4 months later, we were married, basically. Yeah, but kind of, yeah. But I mean, a short while after I married her, I kind of, let her know that I'm trying to do something in my life. I'm trying to start a business here or like start something. And she kind of helped me a little bit, like explore things in India. I got a place there and stuff, and I couldn't really find anything. And then I put out this piece of paper I had wrote in prison, which was, hair made in India, the business plan for the hair. I don't even think I had to call it hair made in India. It was just like the hair plan or something like that. I still have the page today. I started researching that, and I put that together and made one Facebook post. And all my like friends in high school, all the girls were like, "What, Rocky? You have hair? Like, hit us up, holla at us, like, bring it through. We'll shop with you. We'll spend with you." And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it because like her parents are traditional as well. They were like, son, you don't have a career or job. Like, how are you gonna marry our daughter? If you don't have anything, you're not. What are you doing? I told them the whole business plan. This is what it's gonna be. This is how I was gonna make it work. And I teach tennis on the side, make 50 an hour easy. It'll be fine. And that's where it went. We made it back to America together, and we were together for like about a year. Started fighting too much, and we split up and got back together once and split up again. We've been apart for about 2.5 years, coming on 3 years now. And that was a journey, man. I was still, taking backward steps. I was still every once in a while, doing drugs I didn't need to be doing, smoking weed a lot, every single day actually, during this whole growth time. And finally I tore my ACL teaching tennis, and that was out of the window. And I had to dive into my business like 10 times harder. And, she left a short time after that to split up with me. And when she really left again, it was like another time when I really got my things together. I was drinking every day. I was in random bars in Hollywood, snorting cocaine in the bathroom, crazy stuff like that. And somehow, some way, I ended up finding an apartment studio downtown, even with a felony and no bank or no job history. They let me rent there by showing them a certain amount of money in my bank account, my business account, and rent me rented as a business. And that was my start again. My buddy Sean, the only good best friend I have left in my life, my real true best friend, like amazing guy, shining light, very, very, very pure, conscious guy, came and spent a little bit of time with me. Didn't try to teach me anything, didn't try to tell me to do anything. He just lived like himself with me for about a month or two. And we started yoga, meditation, reading, audio tapes, spiritual stuff, going around. He showed me like the good conscious vibe, the good healthy vibe around LA. And I started going to those places and started staying away from Hollywood, staying away from all the crazy places. And that was about 4 years ago. And that for this 4 years has been the biggest growth that I didn't even think was imaginable. I didn't even know that this was possible in life. So 10 years ago, if you had asked me like, would you ever see me doing things I'm doing today and talking the way I'm talking or reading what I'm reading and being around the people I'm around, I would have laughed. I'd like, I don't know who you think, I don't know who you think I am. Like, that's not me, like not at all. But, and the last 4 years as well, it's been some up and downs, I've taken backward steps as well, but like the most important thing now is like, I know when I take those steps, I feel it. I can feel my energy drain. I can feel that I'm doing something wrong. And I know that, okay, I know what to do now. Okay, Rocky, get back by yourself, get some good food and get some good water in you, put some good stuff in your ears, read something good, get back centered, ground yourself, disconnect a tiny bit, get your foot away from your phone for a while. It'll all come back in a minute. It'll all come back. And it works now. It doesn't take me longer than a couple hours to like really like reground myself when I'm really not feeling right or when I feel like I made bad choices, the night before or whatever it is.
Would you say now you're taking the steps where if it's leading down that bad path in a way, you're not going into that direction with drugs and alcohol, but like you said, food, water, reading, disconnecting, it's a much safer path you're taking that's not going to lead to the old style that you lived.
Yeah, I mean that style is done for me, man. Like I did what I did, and I mean when I actually met my ex-wife at that time, like I made that decision. I was like, I'm not going back I'm not going back to selling drugs. I'm not going. I said I'm never going to sell drugs again. I never have since then. I didn't ever tell myself I'd never not party and stuff like that. And I have, partied. I enjoy like I like to enjoy now. Like I try to do it a lot more responsibly than I ever did before, and I do. Me partying 10 years ago from me partying a couple weekends ago is a totally different looking scene, like the 180 flip, literally. And yeah, it's just right now, like the amount of growth I've had personally and business wise, I'm just excited because I'm just at the beginning of it, man. Like it's like the last year or 2 years has really been a lot, and I'm still heading down the same path. I don't feel like there's outside influences or factors or people, no matter what it is, even COVID, they can slow me down or stop me now because I believe in this in my heart. I know it this to be true, that if you live a certain way and if you put certain thoughts in your head and you continue with it, that you'll get the results that you want, what you want out of life, exactly how you want it. And I know that now. So I'm blessed, but there is no looking back anymore. There is no that lifestyle is something I did, someone I might have once been, and some might have been part of me still. But it's no longer the choices I make and the actions I take.
Something we talk about on this show is learning from our past and the rise to the challenge is always we have to go through stuff and overcome challenges and obstacles. And listening to your story, you definitely had those challenges which caused a bunch of obstacles, but you've gone through them and you've rised up and now you're living a better life for yourself because you know that you have to look out for your future. Looking back at your time, is there anything that you would have done differently or maybe taken a different path that you would have done now?
I don't think I would have done too much. I don't think I could have done too much. Like I said earlier, I was like, I think everything kind of happened for a reason. As bad as some of it hurt, as tough relationships that I went through, I learned so much from them. Like, so I can't say I didn't want to meet anybody. I can't say the situation in schools I went to, as hard as they were, they made me grow and give me the ability to share experience with other people and put a soft spot in my heart for kids and people going through it. So, I mean, if all that didn't happen, then which is like a catch-22 for me because I want to help people not go through these things. At the same time, these things are kind of like what, made who I am partly. So, um, no, I mean, I can't really say there's anything that there's one stock trade decision when I was locked up that my dad made for me that I wish I had said no to, but
So what does the future look like for your businesses? What are you hoping to accomplish next with them?
So we're constantly scaling right now. We've actually just implemented a $15,000 CRM system to enable us to better engage with and understand our clients. So we're having a massive influx of clientele right now. My assistant Miranda, she's an amazing girl. I've known her since college as well. She's helping me implement that system. Our Beverly Hills showroom here is growing constantly. We have an amazing girl named Aquarius. She's been a client of mine for a couple of years. She works the showroom in here. I do the back end work. We have a small team of marketing and technology and back end guys as well across the world. We're going to keep scaling. We're going to keep helping businesses grow. Me personally, this is where my heart is helping people. And I realized when I started talking to my business clients, I was always scared to talk about prison and what I went through as a kid. And my clients, I was like, oh, I'm going to lose business. My parents are like, you're going to lose business. Don't do it. And I started talking to them a bit. And when I did, they were so inspired and motivated and so shocked to learn this about, the guy they're doing business with. But they're like, I'll do business with you forever, Rocky. Like, I love that you shared this. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should tell everybody. Maybe I should share with everybody. Maybe I can help more people than just in my business and my field. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to hop on a plane, fly to South Africa, fly to India, have a meeting set up with a group of school kids, bring them food, cook with them, play around, talk to them if they can understand English or understand how I can speak, and tell them a little bit what I went through, a bit about this rich American kid that ended up almost being dead and broke and poor and on the gutter and in prison, that was able to overcome. So maybe they can get some laughs or some experience or some motivation from that as well. And yeah, that's kind of like the direction of things. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I just know there's a lot more coming, and I know that it's all a process, it's all a journey. And for me, I've finally understood that that's where the fun is. That's where the magic is the journey, like what tomorrow brings. And now I'm excited for that. I love what tomorrow brings. I used to not care about tomorrow. I used to care about tomorrow night. Let's sleep through the day and wake up for tomorrow night. That's about it.
I think you hit our motto completely on the nail, where it's real life stories, real motivations to inspire all generations. As you're willing to tell your story to inspire other people to hopefully maybe get them off that track and hopefully find a better path or learn about the entrepreneurial side of you. Personally, you mentioned some of the stuff where you wanted to have a wife, a family, live on the beach. You're kind of on the beach. I don't know if you're exactly on the beach, but you're on the West Coast and East Coast as we talked. Are you personally finding those goals now, or is it still a work in progress?
So 2 months ago, towards like the middle of COVID, I was living in a loft downtown, and I had that place with my ex-wife. We've been separated for a long time now. I was kind of going through a bad stage again, where I was waking up screaming, thinking she was there, thinking people in the apartment, crying, pulling my hair out, basically going halfway crazy. And finally, I was able to make the decision against my parents. I had to stop talking to them for a month because they loved that place down. They loved visiting me there, to leave it. 1,400 square foot loft, Staples Center, downtown, full of things, everything you could imagine inside of it. And I gave it all away. I gave it to the homeless. I gave it to a housing group, and my suits, my shoes, my bedding, my clothes, my towels, my sheets, my pillows, all the other food I had in there, I gave everything away. And I moved into a co-living house called Podshare in Venice Beach with 20 other random roommates. And I was looking for friendship. I was looking for communication. Obviously, like I said, I'm Aquarius, February 14th. I was looking for love. And man, all that has came to me. With a beautiful girl right now, it's my girlfriend, and we've only met a couple months ago, but we're really aligned on a lot of things. She does like creative work, podcasting. She does all kind of writing and journaling, and listens to the same kind of things I listen to. She wants to be a life coach and an author as well. And it's a blessing. Like I didn't, at the point in time when I got there to Podshare, I was like, I had to stop looking for. I was like, this is not going to happen. Just do you, Rocky, do your business, like, and see what comes, and try to make a good friend or two. And, I had that, all that and more. The amount of stuff that's came back to me in the form of like love, people, even business and actually money, since I've given that stuff away and just kind of let go of that weight on my shoulders is just crazy. It's actually crazy.
For the industry that you're in with being an entrepreneur and having your businesses, what tips or advice would you give someone to rise to their challenge, to exceed in that area?
In my business specifically, like say wholesale wise, of products and B2B business, the biggest thing is, speaking in a business sense, is definitely organization, having your systems in order. Your sales, your capturing your lead system, your marketing systems, your back end fulfillment systems, I didn't do it the right way in the beginning. I kind of stumbled around, which is why it took me a good bit longer than most people. But I learned it very thoroughly. And that part is very huge. The second part is when people try to really divide personal life and business life. As entrepreneurs, as businessmen, businesswomen, uh, I think that's a bit of a mistake. I think that our business and our personal lives are much more intertwined and connected than we think they are. And the more you work on yourself, the more good you do to yourself, the more you feed yourself positivity and knowledge and things like that, the more your business will grow. And it might sound weird, but it's magic. Like watch it happen. I know this to be true. I've witnessed it myself. So yeah, those are, I guess, the two biggest type of pointers I can give. But other than that, it's a journey, man. Like you might have a beginning and an end right here, but the line is not going to be straight. There's going to be all kind of flowing in between, up and down, left and right. You figure out what you want a little bit, um, get that vision and direction in your head and start going that way. And it doesn't have to be very specific. Like it doesn't have to be like, I want to do X and X and X. It can be a little bit vague in the beginning. Don't stretch yourself. I didn't know in the beginning what I wanted to look like. I've only recently started to say, you know what, I want to be walking around speaking. I want to be helping people. I want to be growing this business at the same time. And I want to be doing that, traveling the world. And now I finally got more specific on it. I even have specific numbers and goals that I've actually been hitting now. It didn't start like that. It was kind of vague. I was just like, I want to do better than yesterday. I definitely want to do better than yesterday and last week. And I want to be heading this way in sales. And I don't want to be feeling like this anymore. Like those things are totally okay. You don't have to make a goal like they say, make SMART goals, like the systematic accountable goals, but which is a great system. But start where you need to start. I started in very vague, funny places where I was just like, I'm gonna try it. And another big thing is I started doing this like 4 or 5 years ago. I do at least 10 minutes, one thing every single day for at least 10 minutes, which is working on my business. It started out with 10 minutes. Now it's, who knows? I don't even know how to count it anymore. But it started out with just 10 minutes. I had to force myself to do something on the business, like something proper, something progressive on it. And not only does that slowly get the snowball effect for your business, it builds a confidence within you and lets your body know like, hey, you're doing something, you're accountable to this, you're making it, you're slowly getting better. And I really am a firm believer that progress does equal happiness. Like when you're progressing on a daily basis, internally, externally, business-wise, like it does slowly lead to happiness.
I think you mentioned something like personal sacrifices in a way where you kind of take those negative things out of your life. And I've definitely, during this time with the pandemic, it's definitely given me a time to do a lot of self-reflection in a way and kind of see what's important to me, like who is important to me and what do I need to do to make me feel better in a way. And I'm hitting everything that I want to do. I think I'm at that stage right now where I'm happy. I'm excited to get up every day. I'm excited for what's next. Who am I interviewing next? What's getting posted? Most of the stuff that we read on the internet, but like the positive things that are happening nowadays. And that's what this whole show is about, is everyone has a story. Everyone has a path or a journey. We all have learned the road that we've taken, but we're all getting to that outcome that we want. And definitely seeing you, and from what we talked about 20 minutes ago to where we are, it's a completely 180 that has happened. But if you didn't go through those things, it may have not been how it is today. And you're definitely learning from everything that you've done so far. So it's exciting to see.
Definitely.
The final question I have for you, based on your journey, for someone that's listening to this interview, what tips or advice would you give someone to overcome their challenges, to achieve their goals, and to rise to the challenge?
First of all, I would say face your fears. I was talking about this earlier today about how, we all have these fears built up in us, and it's something I try to do now whenever I can, is if I'm scared of something, try it, do it, face it head on. 9 times out of 10, it's not as big as you thought it was. So that's a big one right there. And then I would say, you have challenges in a way. Usually they come from a lot of diving into the external world and information coming into you and making you worried or scared or hesitant. Disconnect from all that just for a little bit of time. You don't need to go to India like I did. You just need to just even once a day, go find time, a couple hours, 20 minutes, be by yourself and just sit there and just reflect on yourself and disconnect and kind of really understand it and get in tune with what you're saying. And then third, get rid of the distractions in your life. the music, the TV shows, the movies, the people, the foods, the addictions, whatever is in your life that's distracting you, that could be bringing you down, let go of it. And if it's hard for you to do, get some help, get some support with it. And at the same time, don't be tough on yourself doing it. Be gentle with yourself and go on your own path. Like I don't remember who said the quote, but like this healing that we do, this learning this growing that we're doing, it's not like a race. There's not a straight line. It's more like a dance. It's delicate. There'll be ups and downs, highs and lows in it, and learn to appreciate that. That's part of life, and that's part of the magic in the journey. So accept that, love it. I wish the one thing, if you asked me earlier, I wish I didn't do so much of, or could have changed. I wish I wouldn't have worried so much about what it was going to be. I wish I wouldn't have had so much worry and stress about it. Because that worry and stress can kill you. And I worried a lot back then, and now I have times when I do, and I'm just like, man. As some of my girlfriend says a lot. She's like, if not this, then something better. And that's true, man. I smile whenever that happens. It shows it to you. If you say it every once in a while, it'll happen. All of a sudden, you're like, what? It happened. If not this, and something better came. So those are the couple of things I would say that, really, really put in there and try. And then once again, reach out, man, to people like you, people like me. This is the kind of stuff that we do. We love doing, and we love sharing and helping. And I'm always available. I answer my phone. Reach out on my website, my phone number. I'm sure you'll be able to share the links and stuff like that. And if not me, go to YouTube. Go listen to these guys, Ralph Smart, Paulo Coelho, Tim Ferriss. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of good information that's free on YouTube. Just go check them out and start tuning into that stuff.
Well, Rocky, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your rise to the challenge. We all definitely have learned a lot about your journey, and we're excited to see what the future looks like for you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.